Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Contented Narrative. We're looking at Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes. Now, this was bought for me by a good friend of mine, and they tend to, whenever I say, oh, just buy me books, they tend to buy me the hardbacks, and do you know what? It is a beautiful hardback. It's very pretty, so it's got on my special edition hardback shelf. Now, this book is kind of there's been so many different stories around like the Greek gods and the mythology and everything like that. So this is kind of like another story around Medusa and Perseus, and that kind of story of like Perseus basically chopping off Medusa's head. And I found it really, really refreshing. Like, I love that this book, it almost takes the side of the monsters and it subverts that kind of, well, actually, they're just kind of living their life. And this guy, Perseus, to stop his mum getting married to a king, who's not even a vicious king, but just to stop her being married to a king, goes off and basically lops off a head of something that he never came at. Like, do you know what I mean? She was just living her own life. She was just, and the reason she becomes the way she is because in this version, it's Poseidon who takes advantage of her in Athena's temple. Athena is a petty, squabble, like quarrelsome daughter of Zeus, and decides to then curse Medusa, who then is just kind of like, well, I can't look at what I want to look at because I could turn things to stone and I don't want to do that. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I genuinely, every time I was reading a new chapter, and like when you hit, like, as it's telling the story, you kind of think it's from Medusa's point of view, and then it gets a point where like Medusa has her head cut off, and none of this is spoilers because everyone kind of knows the story of Perseus and Medusa, but she gets her head cut off, and then you realise that the head kind of takes on its own consciousness, and that's who's been narrating the story to us, and it was really enjoyable. And I love that it kind of was like, well, actually, the monsters were kind of just living their own life, tending the sheep, looking after each other, keeping away from everybody else. Medusa got taken advantage of, and she wasn't asking for it. And then you've got this human that's coming out of nowhere, knows nothing about, the Gorgons, basically like takes the eye and the tooth of the three sisters, not the Gorgons, and throws it once he gets his answers. Basically takes advantage of everything, is a whiny little man-child, and yet somehow he's seen as the hero and Medusa's seen as the villain. And so honestly, I'd 100% recommend this book. It gets a 4 out of 5. Now, the reason it doesn't get a 5 out of 5 is because I do feel like sometimes it's very hard to, like, a 5 out of 5 for me is a phenomenal, amazing, can't stop thinking about it, in my blood and bones kind of book. And as great as this book was, it's not a kind of like in my bones kind of book, unlike, the TJ Klune books, which are a 5 out of 5 for me, because I genuinely, every time someone's like, oh, what book would you recommend me, 100% is one of those two books that I go to first to recommend to people. This is one that if someone was asking for recommendations, I'd probably go, oh, Stone Blind's quite good. And for me, that's why it's not a 5 out of 5, because otherwise I'd be like, you have to read this book. Now, I know this whole channel is about recommending books for you to read, so I know that may sound a bit hypocritical the way I said it, but what I mean is when I'm out in the real world, when I'm interacting with humans. But I would say, like, if you can, definitely pick this up. But it's so funny to see how like petty the gods are, and it's quite great to sort of like, because you don't just come across the Greek, like, like Zeus, Poseidon, and all of them. You get some of the Titan gods in there as well, and you get some like the old school gods, and it's really interesting and really fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed the book. So I would say definitely paperback, hardback, borrow from a library, get the Kindle edition, whatever you can. I would definitely recommend this book for you to read. Now, if you do enjoy it, please leave it below in the comments. If there's any kind of storytellings in Greek mythology similar to this, please again leave it below in the comments for myself. But thank you so much for your continued support, and remember to always keep it contento.